now you've introduced this new term to people again on top of everything that they've had to educate themselves on. Meet me rooms, and now people are talking about servers, and the COMELEC is making a distinction between routers and servers. Take us first to meet me rooms. What is this, to your understanding?
Well, Meet Me Room, we discovered about it in 2016, actually. Yeah, during the hearing in Manila court, when Marlon Garcia was testifying, about that changing of the question mark to Enye. So it was found out there that
Testifying before what?
because he was there was a case filed against him against the it's a case about cybercrime act.
So it was in court,
Yes,
judicial court.
yes, the changing of the question mark to
To the Enye.
Yes.
So that is
Okay.
covered by the cybercrime act. So during the process of the hearing, Marlon Garcia mentioned about that there existed queuing servers, Meet Me Room, and these were not disclosed to the public. And remember that Senate President was Tito Soto. During his two privileged speeches, he mentioned about these queuing servers and early transmission. That was when? March of 2018, two privileged speeches, and he was saying about these are irregularities.
Okay, so dinawin lang po natin. From what you understand, ano tong Meet Me Room? This is not an actual room.
Yeah.
This refers to what?
These are actually computers or
Okay.
servers, no? And to our mind, in automated election system, there should be no Meet Me Room, queuing servers, or they even call it transmission router. And there's so many terms, but these are computers. And between the transmission from the vote counting machine, to the municipal board of canvassing, through the omnibus election code, it stipulates that the transmission should be direct. Kung natatandaan yung ating automated manual elections,
Yes.
yung pagkatapos ng bilangan, yung mga balota, at saka yung ER, dinadala yan diretso
Physically.
sa munisipyo.
Yes.
And then munisipyo to provincial capital and to the National Board of Canvassing. Nung in-automate yan, ganun din yung konsepto. There should be a direct transmission from the BCMs or PICOS machines to the canvassing server. But apparently, meron palang sinatawag na mga queuing servers, or they call it the transmission routers or Meet Me Room.
No, but to that, I mean, you offhand say, but they call it this. Would you grant that router is a fair term?
Actually, it's not.
But would you insist that it's a server?
Yes, it is.
Because if we got it right from Commissioner from spokesperson James Jimenez, and I don't mean to speak out of misspeak here and misrepresent. If I make any mistakes, it's my mistake. It's no, but if I understood it correctly, he's saying one difference between a server and a router is the server actually has the capacity to store data. Okay. In this case, sinabi niya yung router is the data still just passes through. Okay. It's not stored or stalled in any and it's just managing the traffic and the flow of or to be accurate, it's just managing the flow of the data. Because as we've seen on the other end of what tripped dun sa transparency server is data can choke a machine, di ba? If you don't manage the data, mabubulunan talaga. If I understand it correctly, on this side of the servers, the router, as he calls it, is not really a server. It's just managing the traffic.
Let's put it very, very simple. When you text a message, let's say from me to Madam Ani, it's direct. No?
Not really.
It's direct.
Not really. I mean, it doesn't really go from my phone to your phone. It goes to it is routed by the infrastructure of the telcos.
Yes.
I can't break it down to different components, but it's not accurate to say that I'm texting from my phone to your phone directly.
But these are passive. Devices as compared to a queuing server.
Yung nakaka-grab.
Yes, it's a queuing server. It's a computer that processes. So what transpired in that particular queuing server is something else. The term should have been like this. It should be a direct transmission from the DCM to the server. But there's a technology to do that without really passing through other additional devices that were not defined in the law. There's no such thing as midterm transmission router in the law. Even transparency server is not even in the law. What the Commission on Elections should have been done is to come up with the implementing rules and regulation and define these routers or this transparency server, this midterm, because there was none.
Well, in fact, that's what Mr. Jimenez told us, that
Yeah.
they explained it to the stakeholders.
Yeah.
We are supposed to be one of the stakeholders. Was
Well,
it explained
Yes,
to you
our local
before the elections?
correct. Our local source code reviewers discovered this transparency, this transmission folder, but that was not disclosed. It was only discovered during the local source code review, and the
It
local
was
source
not
code.
disclosed in
Yes.
this election. Because you
It
said
was not,
you discovered actually in
It was
2016 pa.
And it was also discovered by the local source code reviewers. And the local source code reviewers were saying, we have to discuss this in detail. And we were wondering, is this known to the COMELEC Advisory Council headed by the Department of Information and Communications Technology?
This was in 2016 or in this election?
2019. And then another thing is the Technical Evaluation Committee certify it. And during our April 8 Technical Working Group hearing ng Joint Congressional Oversight Committee at the Senate, it was discussed this queuing server. And it was determined and concluded by the representatives from the Department of Science and Technology, of course, from the NAMPRE and me. I was also present during the hearing. Glenn Chang was also there, and some of the local source code reviewers, Alex Ramos, Dr. Pablo Manalastas, and they were saying that there is such a thing as queuing server, that when a VCM transmits,
Intercept.
that is intercepted, and
Okay.
the municipal canvassing would receive that
Later.
later.
Okay, so
So
ako,
it's not instantaneous transmission.
Yeah.
So what happens then?
You were talking about passive transmission for text eh. I'm very low tech ah. Anuhin nyo lang kung tama yung appreciation ko. Na nagpasok tayo ng balota, nag-transmit, before it went to the Municipal Board of Canvassers, naka-intercept si Meet Me Room.
Yeah.
Nakuha niya yung bago nakarating kay canvassing.
Tama po yan, madam.
Tama ba na sinabi ni Mr. Jimenez, that, which he told us just a couple of minutes ago, na you were all the stakeholders were actually apprised about this? Tinanong
I
namin
don't think so.
baka naman mali lang yung tanong ko sa kanya.
Yeah, I don't think
medyo
so.
low-tech nga ako.
There's no technical evaluation committee at all. So even the stakeholders should be known or should be notified about this certification that there is midterm and this has been certified that this is operating properly.
So na-intercept siya, pinarking siya somewhere.
Parking.
Naka-parking.
Doon sa queuing server.
Sa queuing server.
Yes, may parking doon.
Tapos, saan siya napunta? Pwede na siyang ilabas.
Doon sa canvassing
Sino may
supposedly.
access kay parking lot?
That we do not know.
Sir, let's start with our words of the day again. New words for the day, meet me room, one, and then two, may supposed servers ba dito? Maybe you can explain to us what exactly are people referring to when they say meet me rooms and then they say iba pa raw server yung nandun.
Sure. The Meet Me Room is not a separate server. It's simply a transmission router. I guess the name is unfortunate. No, it gives the wrong impression. But I think it's been very clear, especially this elections, when that was really the subject of a lot of discussion, that the transmission router would not function as a server. That it is not a server. There is no physical server. It is simply a gateway a way of managing the flow of information so that the system isn't overwhelmed by the incoming transmissions from the field. So again, this was discussed extensively, and it was approved by various stakeholders, including NAMFREL, in fact. And again, it was subjected to both local source code review and an international certification entity's review of the entire process.
Okay, now, I mean, let's clarify that. Unang-una, meet me room, as you said, unfortunately, term, this is not a physical room. We're not actually referring to any room. And in fact, people are referring to this component in the transmission, which, as you said, is not a server. It is actually a router. Do we have that correct?
Yes. Yes, that is correct.
Okay, now in essence, you've touched on this a bit, but I mean, in essence, what would be the, for laymen, what would be the difference in the functions of an outright server versus a router?
Well, the tendency is to think of servers as having some sort of storage capacity where they're saying that the transmissions are actually intercepted and held and you know, released at someone's urging. The difference between that and a transmission router is that a router simply directs the flow of traffic. It simply directs the flow of information from wherever it's received from to wherever it's supposed to go. So there is no storage capacity for a transmission router.
Okay, and then the other fundamental question that people ask, whatever these things are these provided for in the Omnibus Election Code? Are these provided for in the standards? And are these, for that matter, certified and acknowledged by all the stakeholders, including all the political players that took part?
They are certified by the local source code review. They were reviewed by the local source code review, and to the extent that the local source code review did not raise any objections about it, certainly did not object to their use, that would count as their approval, I would suppose. It's been reviewed by the International Certification Authority, the ICE, that was tasked with reviewing the source code for the whole system. As to your first question, whether or not it was specifically provided for, I'm not very sure that it was specifically provided for, but it is part of what makes the system work. Because without it, there would be congestion, there would be problems with transmission, and again, the authority was to employ an automated election system, and that carries with it the authority to use whatever systems are necessary to make it workable, and that's what happened. This is a necessary system. It makes the system more efficient, makes it more effective in that sense.